This conference will now be recorded.
Hello and welcome to this short overview video of the newest product from Workhorse, the Payroll portal, where we are automating timesheets. The Payroll portal is a product that will be customized to each employee for those that you choose to utilize it with. We do have flexible time entry methods. We have a management approval process, as well as giving management views of the employees that report to them and their time cards. We feel it's pretty easy to use. It's a secure product. This product is hosted online and thus is connected via the internet to, say, your smartphone, your computer in the office, wherever is needed. And then the biggest benefit or not the biggest, but one of the benefits, I should say, is this does integrate directly into municipal payroll and thus hopefully really taking quite a bit of the paper out of the time card process for those folks in the office. So today, planning to cover just general, hey, how do we access it, navigating the portal, how we would enter and submit a time card, and then approving a time card, and then also looking at some of the help that's within it. So why don't we go ahead and get started? So first, when a employee is set up back in municipal payroll, that employee will get a email that has them confirm their account. Here they'll have also, their login will be their email address. We have a kind of generic password that's last name, year of birth, that type of thing. That'll be communicated to the employee as well, and whatnot. And again, each municipality does have its own unique login. And I'm going to go ahead and toggle to that now. So here we'd put in the email address, password. If we forget a password, we do have that option there. We're all human and that happens. So we can go ahead and do that here. I'm going to go ahead and get logged in. And when we log in, the first thing we see is the dashboard. And on the dashboard, we got a handful of things going on. And just to give you a quick overview of this, up on the top here in this dark green bar, we're on the dashboard. We could click into time cards. There's the help feature that shows all the help files and whatnot that a employee may need to reference if they need to. And then on the far right, we have the hi and the employee's name. In this case, in my demo here, we have Justin. And then we have a log out as well. So just to cover things here, I'm going to jump into the hi Justin, the user profile. We have a couple of things going on. We do give the ability if an employee wants to use military time. So my example is it's 2 p.m. in the afternoon, that would show up as 1400 hours. So that's something. And then we have this alternative timestamp entry. I'm going to actually turn that off right now, but we'll turn that on here in a few minutes. But let's go ahead and come back to the dashboard. On the dashboard, if your municipality has this turned on, we have a punch in and punch out feature, which allows easy access for an employee to select a pay category. And this drop down is unique to each employee and what they should have accessible to them. And allows them to punch in, and essentially that just starts a clock, and we'll start clicking away until we either cancel that entry by pushing this yellow button, and we'll say no, or punching out by pushing the red button. We're going to let that just kind of click away here as we look at the dashboard. Next is the FTO section, and this is flexible time off. You may refer to it as paid time off. But nonetheless, this again is specific to the employee. So if they have vacation and sick only, that's all they would see. If they don't have anything, they won't see anything. But nonetheless, it gives them a view of their FTO, what they started the year with, what they've earned, what they've used, all that sort of thing here. And that's a view for them. And as an employee, just general navigation, I could minimize that and say, hey, I don't want to see that. And I'm going to now see the next section in this login, which is the time card listing. And this shows the 4 stages of time card. We see a open time card out here as well. So this is just a quick access to that. Now, if an individual is a approver, they'll actually have a 4th section that's called time card management, and we'll take a look at that when we go ahead and approve a time card for this example, and we'll cover that in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead, well, I can navigate to time cards here. I'm going to go ahead and jump to this up here where it says time card. Now in our system, as I mentioned, we have 4 stages: open, so that's open. Submitted is simply after I've fulfilled my time card for a pay period, I submit that, and that goes to my manager for approval, and that's sitting out here. We have approved time cards, so a manager has approved it, but it just hasn't been fully processed through payroll for a specific payroll run. And then lastly is closed, and this shows all closed time cards out there. So gives the employee a view of historical time cards if they would ever have to go back and reference them. They can do a quick view by clicking this 3.3 lines, and it shows them the detail of that time card. Or they could click the printer icon and go ahead and print a report of that specific time card here. And on this one, we can say, hey, it was approved. This is when it was approved, and whatnot. And just a quick note, this time card report, is pretty plain, but we do have some ability to modify this. Say you had a logo that you wanted to put on here or something like that, or change the font. We do have some ability to modify that for each specific municipality. So at that point, let's go ahead and come back to time cards. I'm going to go ahead and create a time card. Now the system will automatically select the next available date, so I don't have to think about that as an employee, and I can go ahead and click create. Now when the time card's created, we got a couple sections on the time card. So here we see, the base pay rate. In this time card details section, we have the beginning date, ending date of that pay period. And then down here, this is where we'll enter time that we've worked. Moving down, we have this FTO section. I took a day of vacation. I need to document that, and that would go here. And then lastly, we have time card notes, and that's down here at this bottom section. So just to highlight that. So why don't we go ahead and just create an entry on a time card. So here I'm going to select, hey, out of my specific list as me as an employee, I'm going to select what's available to me. I can come in and do that. And then here, talking about the different ways we can enter hours in the system. We can go ahead and, if I'm allowed as an employee, this is a switch on the employee record, I could simply say I worked 8 hours. And I don't know when that was. I know it's between April 5th and the 18th, but I'm allowed to just simply put in a total hours. Maybe that's 40 hours. I'm paid bi-weekly. I'm going to put 40 hours here, 20 there, 20 there, and that's all I need to do. But that's one method. Now, again, you can see I could go back and edit that. I could delete it, but I'm going to go ahead and do the next method that we have here. I'm going to be cutting grass, and with this, that second method is this clock feature. I could come in, I could click in this gray area and say, on April 5th, which I know is in the future, at 1 p.m. I started cutting grass, and I went till 5 o'clock, and that would allow me to enter time using a specific date and a specific in and out period. Now I could hit OK. I could actually come in and say, hey, I want to do another entry for that pay category. Hey, it was 3 p.m. And now I'm using my mouse. I could be coming in and just saying, hey, it was 05 p.m. and I have that in there. and you could do that. And that's going to slowly tally up those hours. And then two, the other thing that's happening in the background is it's showing total hours, total earnings, and it's doing that math. And so those are kind of two different ways of entering time. The one thing that I want to do now is go ahead, I'm going to come back to this user profile. I'm going to put this alternative timestamp entry in here. So I'm going to turn that on. I'm going to come back and I want to show you on this time card how that feature works. I'm going to go ahead and come in. I'm going to say parks, and I'm going to click into the clock. Now here, I'm simply selecting a date, and then I'm simply putting the number of hours worked with that pay category. Now, that's a little different than where we said I started at 1 and I worked to 4, and that was 3 hours. So that's just the different ways of entering time on a time card. And as you can see, it slowly totals those hours up, and that's on here. Now, just to give you a view of the FTO, I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Again, this is going to have a pick list that's unique to the employee, and I could select vacation. I could simply put in 8 hours, but again, here we're going to use the date and clock feature where, hey, I'm taking the 16th, it's 4 hours, and I'm going to hit OK. I could say, hey, I'm putting in a note, the 16th, day at home kind of a thing, whatever. I know we've all had a lot of those, but there we go. Then that would put that in. And then lastly on the time card is this time card notes section. And this is, hey, note to my manager. And as you can see, as I'm starting to type, this has a 200 character limit. It kind of tells you how many you've done in the space that's left. And with this, those are the sections and really the ease of inserting time. One thing I just wanted to cover quickly is this that I missed out on, but just want to cover briefly is if I'm an employee that's allowed overtime, then I see this category. If I wasn't, I would not see that. And then same here with this bank comp time hours. So instead of taking overtime, I'm allowed to bank that for comp hours. If I'm not allowed that, this checkbox wouldn't be here. So just wanted to cover that briefly. At this point, you may say, hey, Justin, you used that punch in feature and never punched out, and where is that? So to that, I'm going to come back to the dashboard. Now I could have logged out, came back later in the day and said, oh, now I have to punch out. So here I'm going to go ahead and punch out. At that point, I can go ahead and select something new to punch into if I wanted to, but at that point, that creates an entry on the time card. Now, one thing, because today is April 1st, and I just created this April 5th time card for this example in my demo here, I have to go back to the current time card pay period, and that will show us the entry that I just did, which I believe was here. We'll find out. So yeah, here, and you notice that it's calculating this out in that time detail here because I had that alternative way of doing this. So if I actually cancel out of here, let's go back and click this on, and I come back to the time card. And this time, I'm just going to take a peek here with the expandable method. I can see, hey, here it was 118 to 127, and that was that timestamp that I just punched in. So that creates an entry. With anything, as you notice, you can delete a time card and restart one. You can go in and modify an entry. So again, we try to be really flexible with our time cards in this system. So at this point, before I go to submitting a time card, my time entry, well, I know this isn't 80 hours for an 80-hour pay period, but say my ins and outs and all the stuff is kind of my normal, I could go ahead and save that as a default. So next time I don't have to put that all in, I could just load my default time card and that would be ready to go. And we could go from that point. So that is something that's available. But why don't we go ahead and just kind of finish this process out by submitting a time card. The employee is going to get this notification, hey, does this look right? If not, go back and cancel and edit it as need be, but I'm gonna say that looks good. And at this point, my time card has been submitted to my manager. And so at that point, I'm gonna go ahead and log out as Justin and come in as Francisco, who's the person approving my time cards. Now, the person approving the time card has all the same features and functions as an employee. They just have this other section here, this time card management section. So here, the manager can view the submitted time cards of their employees that report to them. They can actually see open time cards for the employees, so they have view of that. They can, hey, an employee's out, they forgot to submit it, they can submit and approve a time card for an employee. They could go in and modify it if need be. So a lot of flexibility. They can see approved time cards, closed ones, and all of that. So I just went and submitted this one, and hey, Justin, you submitted that before you needed to, so I'm going to go ahead and reject that one, and you can go ahead and resubmit it when it's time. I could have left it there and just let it sit there too, but I'm just showing you again flexibility of the system. But as a manager, I could click into it to view it. I could click these lines and say, hey, does that all look right? Yeah, it does, based on what I know. I could print a time card report if I wanted to view that information that way. But if I say, hey, that looks right, I'm gonna go ahead and approve it. At that point, that comes in and sits in here, and I think I just approved this March 8th to the 21st time card. When a time card is approved, and or rejected, an employee gets a notification. So here, just to show you, hey, this time card's been approved, see more details, log into the portal. So there's that notification that's kind of going back and forth, but at that point, that time card's done. But now, just since I'm here, I just want to take a minute to show you some additional functionality as a person that's approving or managing people. Not only can they see those time cards, they could even create a time card for an employee. So they'd select the person, they'd come in and say, okay, I want to create a time card for the 4th for David Johnson, and I could go ahead and do that and start having that being able to be modified and edited and added to and all of that. So a lot of great tools and functionality available for a manager. Lastly, here, I would like to go ahead and just cover this help feature. So the help is everything for an employee. It's everything for the portal. For those individuals that have the duties of managing an actual payroll run and you're using our municipal payroll product, that help feature is in that section that covers those that side of it. But here, we have our training videos, we have an index of, hey, how do we enter time? And with this, hey, somebody's a paper person, they don't want to have 2 tabs open and see this. They can go ahead and hit this print icon, and they could go ahead and print this out, and that would be available to them until it becomes second nature for those individuals. But a lot of our customers that have been using this already, they said, hey, it's really easy to catch on to and is pretty straightforward. So that's our help. And then lastly, just for you guys, if you want to learn more about this, this was a really quick and brief overview of the portal. We'd love to have a conversation with you, answer any questions you have. If you want to set up a demo, be it just online or in person, we can do that. You can reach out to us at the sales@workhorsewi.com. my email direct, justin@workhorsewi.com, or even just call support and that'll get over to me, from which we can have a conversation, which we would love to do. So this is the payroll portal, and I thank you for your time in reviewing and hearing all about it. Take care.